This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian.
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit, Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
My name is Goosh, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I'm, of course, your host, James J., and it's a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with the silver-tongued prince of pro wrestling, the Goose!
Hey, how's it going? I appreciate the intro, big man.
Absolutely. We do it big here on Wrestling With. How are you today?
I'm doing just fine, actually. How about yourself? Man?
I'm doing good as well. Can you tell us where the silver-tongued prince will strike again next, event-wise?
Well, at the moment of recording right now, I have a show coming up this weekend for the Arizona Wrestling Federation at in Phoenix, Arizona, at Bull Shooters on May 24th. It's our Wild Card Rumble, and we're gonna have a huge Rumble. Coming up after that would be Riverside, California, May 30th through June 1st, and I think, as far as I know, June 28th for the Arizona Wrestling Federation, and that show is going to have Elena Black on it, actually. But yeah, that's where I'll be for as far as I'm concerned.
The 29th through the 1st. That's not Anime Con Riverside, right?
Yes, it is actually.
That's awesome.
Are you gonna go to that one?
Not decided yet. Unfortunately, Money in the Bank came around, and all my money went to that.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
You know, those tickets are getting higher and higher literally every time I look for them.
Yeah, no, they're insane. I honestly can't believe the amount of. I don't want to get. That's something I want to get into because went to Mania. I thought they were gonna be like $100 for nosebleeds, but no, they were running you like $250 for nosebleeds.
Yeah.
For like Mania itself, and I get it, it's the biggest show of the year, but geez, dude, it's ridiculous.
I went to 4 wrestling events, and this year, and it still wasn't the amount of money I paid for those events were not equivalent to one ticket for WrestleMania. It was that expensive.
Jeez, did you go to Mania this year?
I did not.
Okay. It was a weird one. Personally for me, because I only went to night one. I was there for Vegas, wrestle for indies around the area, and there was a lot of them. But it was a weird experience for me because that was my first time I went to a WWE show ever.
Really?
Yeah, that was the first time I ever went to a WWE show in my entire life, and it was interesting to say the least.
I am curious, what was the experience like, considering it is the biggest show that you could possibly start off with?
So I don't know if it's like this for any other basketball arenas or anything else, but one thing I did notice off rip was the entrance songs weren't as loud as I thought they were going to be. Sometimes it was almost hard to hear the entrance songs. I don't know if that's just how Allegiant Stadium had it set up, but that's the biggest thing for me. For me as a wrestling fan, entrance music is everything. So it's not being able to hear it that well. It's kind of okay. Pyro wasn't that bad or as loud. Just a lot of things were more quiet than I thought they were going to be.
That's really interesting because I was in Allegiant Stadium for SummerSlam 2021, and
Okay.
it seemed like everything was on par. Everything was loud properly. So maybe that's something new.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it was just like more. It was quiet, just deadly quiet.
Well,
But maybe it's just the arena at the time.
Or maybe you were just that high up.
Nah, I don't think it was. Maybe, probably.
Where can we find you on social media and your merchandise?
For social media, I'm just Goosh_PW on Instagram, Goosh on Facebook, and right now that's the only socials I have. My merchandise is always going to be in a link in any of my bios that I have. And other than that, yeah, I'm gonna start setting up a pro wrestling t-shop because I got a lot more designs that I need to put out that I've kind of been withholding. But yeah, just anything merchandise is gonna be in the link in my bios and social media. My main one is Goosh_PW on Instagram.
Perfect. And you don't have to go looking for it. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. Alright, you mentioned it. You work for Arizona Wrestling Federation. Can you tell us about your relationship with the company?
I think personally, it doesn't get really any better than that company for me personally out here in Arizona, because Arizona is not like too big of a scene, and from what I understand, like we're trying to like the entire state itself with every other company, they're trying to like we're trying to build it up. We're trying to get like the name recognition of like a Texas or a California or a New York or a Florida. You know what I mean?
Right.
But right now in my current company, I think I like it there because it's your first start. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You train there and that's your home company and you feel comfortable there. Sure, a lot of people could look at it as always, having a spot, but I think if you're going to be on that platform, that's like the time for you to like really gauge as to what would work in other places when you start going out, Obviously the only complaint is the heat. You know what I mean? We get really hot shows, but it really helps you like condition you for like other environments for states that don't get as hot as us. So I think we have the advantage of that. And the biggest advantage from what I feel is the fact that Arizona is in between Las Vegas, California, and Texas. Those are like big wrestling states. So we're like in between all of those states. And that's something that a lot of guys out here, when they start traveling, they're quick to take advantage of, because like, wow, we're not traveling across the entire country, but these are still like very, very hot like zones for wrestling itself. So I love it.
Yeah, and you got that good WrestleMania bump this year.
Yeah, there was no way I was gonna go to like a Philadelphia or anything like that, but it was like only 4-hour drive from here to Allegiant, so it's like, all right, cool.
Oh, that's a really good drive.
Yeah, legit. And in Las Vegas, in that area, everything is like within like a block or two of each other,
Right.
So if you want to go catch like a GCW show down the street, it's only like 10-minute drive. And like, I went to go catch a DPW show just to watch it, and my friend Taylor Kingsley and Moxie Strokes, they were wrestling for Versus Pro. Shout out to them, they're awesome. And I didn't realize how close they were running their show until I looked at Google Maps, and it's a 5-minute walk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like Las Vegas, everything is like right there next to each other, and I think that's really cool.
This upcoming shows at the Anime Con. Is it your first time competing in Riverside for them?
Yes. It's gonna be my first time competing in Riverside. Riverside actually is my hometown.
Oh, wow.
So like that's pretty exciting for me personally, because I don't know a lot of promotions that run out of Riverside, and I think it's very exciting that I get to like go and cosplay and wrestle in my hometown. I get to feel comfortable,
Right. I don't think there is any promotions in Riverside.
Yeah, it's not like a hidden city, but it's like not a lot of like wrestling promotions look at that as like a hot spot, I'd imagine. Right. I know a lot of other promotions do. I think Empire Wrestling Federation in the area of California, SoCal, like runs Riverside, but other than that, I can't really think of any other Riverside promotions.
Who are you cosplaying for at the show?
I'm gonna be Death the Kid from Soul Eater.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So you're going to be very symmetrical.
Very much so, yes. I'm going to try to have very symmetrical offense.
Well, let's talk about a symmetrical rivalry you had with a one Chris Evans. And you did have a proper rivalry. You had a double count out, a DQ, and then, obviously the last match in that rivalry. Can you tell us about your rivalry with Chris Evans?
Do I have to? No, I'm kidding.
But I would like you to.
I think that one was really fun for me because it kind of, I feel like it separated me more from like what I'm comfortable with to like, okay, this is where this, like most of like the basics are, you know what I mean? I thought I understood the basics of, every facet of wrestling until like, I started that feud, until we started the feud. First time around, it was, he showed up in a suit and we talked, and I got to use my chops, you know what I mean?
Right.
I got to speak my piece, and I got to use my chops in the ring. Of course, double count out, it didn't count as an official match, I don't imagine. But then December, that one sucked, okay? Because you're wrestling in the cold, and all of your like goosebumps and senses are like like at 100. So when you get slapped once, it stings across your whole body. So him slapping me across the chest, across the back, it got me bad. And I had him reeling, and then he pulled out a chair and beat me with the chair. But I think that's a W in the win column. And then the one in January, that one I feel like pushed me the most. You know what I mean? In the Arizona Wrestling Federation, there's usually conversations about Chris about how when you finally have a match with him, then you're able to earn your stripes if you can hang. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they don't play when they tell you that, because you will hear over and over again, once you're in a match with Chris, you better get your cardio up. And they weren't kidding. And that match, I believe, was very fun. And I did feel myself like it was all flowing together perfectly. It all felt like it flowed together. I didn't get the W. I think the final image of us both being too exhausted to get up at the end of it was enough for me to live with.
So you said you don't or really earn your stripes until you go toe to toe with Chris. Do you feel like you did earn your stripes against him?
I feel like I already had before. You know what I mean? I feel like I already had earned my stripes, and like within that company. Of course, like not around the country, you know what I mean? But just locally, within the AWF, I feel like I had already. But I think this was the like litmus test of like, hey, let's see what you have. You know what I mean? He's been doing this for a lot longer than a lot of us. I think pushing 20 years in the business. Chris Evans is, and he grew up with this certain stuff. Give me just a second, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, am I using the right? Yeah, I am. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm using the right microphone.
No, yeah, you're fine.
But yeah, no. Within the AWF, Chris has trained a plethora of guys, and he trained our current world champion, Chubby Depp, and he knows his stuff in ring. And I feel like if he can't get a good match out of you, then you got to go back to the drawing boards. But I felt very comfortable with him. I felt like I knew I could hang. I just focused on my breathing. Was the most important thing in that entire match.
Now that you've gotten past Chris Evans, will you be fighting Chris Hemsworth or Robert Downey Jr. next?
I think Robert Downey Jr. I think me and him could relate on a lot of things. I think we are almost the same person.
For anybody that's...
How's it going? That got me. I didn't expect that one.
But I mean, it's right there. He's Chris Evans.
Yeah.
I'm sure some people are thinking, did he like legit wrestle Captain America? Like
no,
he did not. There's a wrestler named Chris Evans.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad I got to wrestle with him. I'm really glad I did.
Well, somebody that you are on the same side as is a one Lorenzo. Can you tell us about your relationship with your tag team partner?
So when I started training, I don't think he wanted anything to do with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you've seen, but I've been on the lankier side of things. So when I got in, it was a smaller group of students when we started, me and Zoe. And at the time, it was me, him, one of our other friends who isn't in the business anymore, unfortunately, my old trainer, and Brittany Brooks.
Shout out to Brittany.
And so it was fun to be able to like start with those, like that small group of people for a bit. And soon, like later on, I had to wait a little longer to make my debut because he got to make his debut like 6 months before me. So I just had to wait a little longer until we had a match in December of 2023, me and Lorenzo. And of course he won, and that's our only like one-on-one encounter we've ever had, and he won that single encounter. But then we got put into a tag match January of 2024. We would win it and become the number one contenders for the tag team championships. Later in February, we lost that match, but we built it back up. Come March of 2024, me and him are in the King of the Cage. It's like an elimination chamber style match, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just in a cage, and 2 people start, more people get added to the match. I won the Unleashed Championship 3 months into debuting. And then the next month, me and him had to run the gauntlet. We had to go against the number one contenders for the tag titles. And then later that night, beat the tag team champions. And we did it. We won 2 matches, won the tag team titles, and I became a double champion that night. And he won his first title with me. And from then, I feel like our bond's gotten better. I feel like we've been cooler, but I feel like anything outside of the ring, me and him could not be more different. He's more outgoing. He likes, you know what I mean? he likes to party a bit, but like me, I just like to talk to people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that.
But me and him have always been close now, because for a while I feel like I didn't really, he really don't want anything to do with me. But now that like, you know, we're starting to collaborate and realize like how much we both care about the business, right. It just felt right. It just felt nice. We went on to not be a tag team for a little bit, just a little bit, and we only started tag teaming once again recently, as of last month, and we have our tag title match this weekend as of May 21st or 22nd. Sorry.
You know, I was according to Arizona Wrestling Federation, Lorenzo is your only friend.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. He is my only friend. He is my only friend.
Normally I ask what's a pet peeve about your tag partner that you don't understand, but I think you already stated that.
I don't think it's a pet peeve of him being more social. I think my pet peeve with him is letting me get my ass kicked every single match. You go back and watch every single match we have. I'm always the one getting my ass kicked, and then he comes in and gets all the glory because he gets to light up whoever's in the ring. Meanwhile, I'm getting beat up 5 minutes straight, and he just comes in and swoops it all up and takes all the glory. But this is part of tag team wrestling.
Well, he definitely didn't take the glory in that cage match that you mentioned.
Yeah, no way.
Could you tell us about that experience, winning that cage match and becoming the Unleashed champion?
So, to preface, I didn't know that the match was for the belt until entrant number 5 got out there. I understood that, like, I find out then that, okay, I'm number 8. I'm the last one that gets to come out. Cool. So what that means is I'm like, okay, we're at number 3. I'm going to go to the restroom. I go pee. I come back, and I see a championship laying on the table. I'm like, what's this for? They said it's for the King of the Cage match. I said, what? I did not know that the match was for the belt at all. until I finally got out there. And when I got out there, Lorenzo was still there. He actually went in at number 1. I went in at number 8. And there was a point where we were like, we were kind of running it. Me and him were kind of like double teaming up on everyone, so me and him could be the last 2. When it did come down to me and him as the last 2, it was I got taken out. He took Demir Morningstar's spinning kick, and I don't know why, out of habit, I saw him getting pinned, and I broke up the pin in a every man for himself match. And I'm like, man, I'm wondering, why did I do that? I could have won the belt here, like right here. Eventually, Lorenzo did get eliminated, and then I, of course, ended up winning the AWF Unleashed Championship, my first belt.
Was that a moment you took in the moment, or is it something that kind of sits in afterwards, like, wow, I did this?
It was in the moment, because then, like, when I was done with the match, I understood, like, okay, this is a belt that was once retired and brought back, like, tonight, so now I gotta do something with this quick. So as soon as I got back there, I looked at the belt, I'm like, I don't like how this looks. It's time for a redesign. So then that's what I spent most of my manpower doing, was looking into redesigning the belt, and it got redesigned.
And, I mean, 2 titles in a span of less than 6 months into your wrestling career. What does that kind of mean to you? To be, trusted with not just being one champion, but a double champion so soon in your career?
It comes with a lot of eyeballs on you, not from the crowd, because I feel like that's given. You're gonna get those eyeballs from the crowd, but it gets eyeballs around the locker room, your peers and the people that you want the respect from. Early on, I feel like I didn't earn the respect from my peers, and I'd imagine that some of them might have taken the fact that I had that opportunity to heart. And at the time, I didn't want to think, oh, they're just jealous. They're just jealous of me. No, I was trying to earn respect. You know what I mean? It's a lot, and for me, it was a highlighter for me. It helped me a lot. It helped the audience get more acquainted to me very early on, and I understood, of course, it's a responsibility, because you're bearing not only 1 but 2 championships. And you have to make every person in that division, or in the respective divisions, like real competition. Everyone who I've wrestled for the Unleashed Championship is very, very good. And it wasn't a lot of people. It was maybe 3, but still, I think the singles title was something I could have, appreciated more than I did at the time. But the tag team championships with Lorenzo was like something that I was like the happiest about, because it was almost like a Cinderella story the way it was set up with me and him, because we weren't even supposed to be a tag team, and we just somehow made it work. But I feel like bearing the responsibility of having 2 belts was a lot very early on, and I feel like I could have done a better job getting more acquainted with my vets and my peers at the time, but I won them, so I had it at the time, so how much we could do about it now other than keep working up.
Hell yeah. Maybe we'll get to another 2 title reigns again.
I hope so. Actually, I hope after this weekend.
Hell yeah. Not a title match, but definitely one of the more brutal matches in pro wrestling. Can you tell us about the dog collar match against Ray Black?
So, I want to preface by setting the scene of why we got to that point in the first place. The same night I wrestled Chris Evans, Ray Black was defending his AWF Heavyweight Championship against Chubby Depp. And Chris Evans felt the need to go out and try to assist Ray Black in a sense, and I took it as an injustice to the world champion. So I went out there with a chair, went to go swing it at Chris, and I swung it at Ray Black, and Ray Black lost his heavyweight championship. Ray Black took offense to that. He would then brutalize me in the AWF training facility. And then we'd have a match in February where he would beat me by cheating. He saw an old man in the front row, took his cane, and hit me across the head with it and beat me there. So I decided to take it up to another level. I proposed the dog collar match because I felt like that was the one match where we could be connected to each other, and they would dish out mutually assured destruction the entire night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just what I felt. I felt like it was my playground, it was my territory, and it was our biggest show of the year because we had Mustafa Ali, we had Chris Masters. Oh, excuse me. We had Brittany Brooks. We had Moose, like current, like at the time still current X Division champion. So I'm like, you know what? Let's do something big. Let's do a dog collar match. And I went to the Home Depot, and I bought a golden big old chain, enough to haul around like a couple tons. And I just bought a couple dog collars from the PetSmart, and there you go. That's the dog collar. For that match, it was interesting because I didn't realize how heavy the chain was going to be. It certainly didn't feel good when it hit your skin. And I wanted, when at the meet and greets before the show started, I wanted every fan to understand that this is real chain and this is a real dog collar. So I let them all pick it up, and every time someone did, they'd get hurt by touching it. And I'm like, okay, good. Now you guys understand what's going to be around our necks. You know what I mean?
No gimmicks.
And it was very scary for a lot of like people who knew me personally. And it was very scary for my girlfriend more in particular because she did not want me to see my neck get snapped by it. But it was definitely one of the most exhausting matches that I had wrestled like in my entire life. But I came out on top, the winner. So I'm undefeated in dog collar matches from as of May 22nd.
Are you expecting to be in another dog collar match soon?
I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility. I enjoyed it a lot. I feel like it was an avenue or like some like space for me to feel creative and like just feel like comfortable. I was very comfortable in the match, and that's something that's more important. But I absolutely would love to, if given the opportunity, to wrestle another dog collar match.
What did it mean to you to beat Ray Black? Obviously considering he was the former heavyweight champion.
I'd say bittersweet more than anything, because I feel like after the fact that would have moved me up the ladder, but unfortunately that's not how this works. I feel like I just like beat down somebody who was upset at me for good reason, and I more so just beat him in my own match. And it sits with me like, okay, a win's a win, but it's also like I'm kind of the reason why it happened in the first place, but we'll live with it. We'll continue on to the next day. But as of today, I haven't heard from him. I haven't seen that he has any problems with me. So I think we kind of just dished it out and kind of settled whatever beef we had at the time. So I think we're okay.
So low-key, you may have gained his respect.
I wouldn't go as far as that. I never know who he respects.
You mentioned Moose was on that card. I just feel like it may have been a missed opportunity. The Goose and the Moose tag team.
I was gonna bring something up about that to him. I just introduced. I don't want to bother him. You know what I mean? He's the X Division champion, dude. You know what I mean? So it's like, if I could say this, it was an anomaly. It was like a spectacle to see him walking around like the locker room. Like, wow, this guy's huge. Number one. Number two, he's the X Division champion. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, especially Mustafa Ali too. Seeing Mustafa Ali was certainly like almost had me starstruck, but I remember like I had to be professional. And knowing that the dog collar match actually opened that show, that was what like kind of got my nerves going. Was like, oh dang, we got to set the tone with this one. You know what I mean? So I was happy I got to do that, and I was happy I was on a show with all of these talent who are literally world traveled.
Hell yeah. I mean, speaking of which, have you ever considered having to, let's call them cronies, called Duck and Duck? So use a Duck, and the Goose.
It's actually the Goosh with an SH at the end.
I know, but it's a play on words.
Come on, bro.
Alright, another big match that you had, was against a one Brian Kendricks in a four-way. Could you tell us about that match? You know, obviously Brian, a big name in pro wrestling.
It was unexpected. From what I understand, a couple weeks out from the show, it was supposed to be me and Chubby Depp, just me and Chubby Depp in the main event of the show. And it was supposed to be for the AWF Heavyweight Championship, but, you know, AWF officials felt, okay, we're going to make this interesting. And they put in Brian Kendrick and my tag partner at the time into that match. So it was a lot of stories to think about. But the fact that I got to be with Brian Kendrick, like somebody who's literally paved the way for like guys like me to be able to like succeed in wrestling. I was like, wow, this guy debuted before I was born. You know what I mean? He was in WWE before I was even born.
Wow.
So he's gonna have seen a lot. And I was more excited to like, you know, get to share like his share a ring with him and like be in the presence of someone with as much experience as him. But of course, look at it from a competitive standpoint, he's still my opponent for that night. So I don't want to get too caught up in the minutia of it, but still like very bewildering, to say the least.
All right. Can you tell us about the Goosh Hour?
The Goosh Hour was very short. It was cut down because I understood that like there's another individual on the roster who had a similar idea as me. But Goosh Hour was more so to give a rundown using my character of what's going on the next shows at the time. Just adding my own like kind of like think Letterman mixed with Eric Andre, informative but still, you know, kind of maniacal and kind of crude humor.
Right.
It's based off the idea that I'm calling myself the Silver-Tongued Prince, and that means I should be pretty efficient with my vocabulary, and I should be able to like, you know, voice my opinions at some points, and I should be able to like, you know, use proper verbiage to, you know, describe a situation or just talk. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, for lack of a better word, just to be able to talk. And I feel like that was probably the best opportunity for me because I feel like the Goosh is one of the better showmen in his opinion, in his humble opinion. He only wants to live to perform, and he only wants to inform when he feels when it's necessary. And so I felt like having that kind of talk show and kind of updating the AWF audience at the time that was probably the best route, and it would get them familiar with my face. And it did help me a lot. It helped me quite a bit when I started out because the first time I did it was you would be rewarded for watching it. You would get 2 free tickets to the next show. And of course, when we gave away those tickets, those same fans come to every single show now. And it's just, even if you can grab 2 people, that's still devoted fans. That'll probably go and tell more and more people. And I feel like it was a good concept, and it was like well in execution, but every time I did it, I only wanted to do it all in one take. I didn't want anything to cut. I didn't want to flub my lines and then we just go right to the next one. I just wanted it all one take. So I'd be sitting there for 10 minutes straight. If I didn't like it, we just do it again and over for hours, it felt like, until I got it right. So yeah, it was a lot. But of course, you know, BGT, also on the AW, but more importantly, getting a lot more bookings out of state. I want to say he adopted the idea, but like it's a very similar idea to the Goosh Hour, and I felt that okay, I feel like I'm established now, and I've already had these belts, so I feel like BGT would be able to do this platform a lot better than me, and it wouldn't be any point to have like 2 talk show kind of gimmicks on the roster, so I just kind of veered away from the Goosh Hour.
It's quite impressive that you would that was all one take.
I always try to do it. I just wanted, if anyone asks, it's only more like something like if someone asks, I'll be able to tell them, but it was more of a me thing. It was me not knowing how to swallow my pride.
Was that something that was your idea, or that you brought to Arizona Wrestling, or was it something that they came to you to do?
It was something I thought about. I wanted to be able to find an out. At first, it started with me wanting to find an outlet to talk about everybody on the roster. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wanted to be able to interact or talk about anybody else that was on the roster, other than what I'll be doing on that show. So I felt like that was the best opportunity for me to voice my opinions at the time, and if anybody was still consistent with watching it, they'd be able to understand where I lie, like where my opinions are with those people that I talk about. Just kind of like expanding my horizons of and opening more doors for interactions in the future.
The one thing I've always felt is, doing wrestling training. You can be taught to do pro wrestling. It's another thing to be taught how to talk. How have you kind of embraced being that? Where does your silver tongue come from? Let's say that.
I wanted to be able to be creative with how I talk to people and how I talk my ish, and kind of paint a picture, so to speak. Just be able to kind of use my vocabulary to paint a picture and to tell the actual story. And whether it be through similes, hyperboles, or just figurative language, I wanted to be able to have the most diverse syntax on the entire roster. And I wanted my vernacular to stand out the most, especially with my cadence, because I have a very interesting way of talking. One of my promo inspirations is Scott Steiner, believe it or not. Obviously, I'm not going to shoot from the hip like him and kind of say nonsense, but I feel like the way he went about it was very entertaining. So to be able to just kind of get set off and be able to start talking and be entertaining, that's one thing. It's hard to talk and also be entertaining. Like right now, I wouldn't say I'm the most entertaining, while I'm talking, but talking and wrestling is much more entertaining sometimes than the actual wrestling. And I wanted to kind of make a statement of my character, my entire brand is me speaking and me promoing. That was more of a statement I wanted to try to make to myself.
Right, and you could even cut a mean promo when you're not even, speaking. There was that one time you had to write down your feelings for your fellow wrestlers in a promo.
Yeah. It was more so on the fact that I was made aware that my mouth does get me in trouble sometimes with a lot of the people, and they do kind of get a little bit upset at what I say about them. So I felt the best way to convey myself or my feelings would to not speak it, but just kind of write it down in 3 words or less. And if I feel like I got the message across.
But I'd like to know how much did it cost you for that promo? Because you were throwing a lot of money in that throat jaw.
I'd say around $60.
Damn.
$60.
I think
Could cost me almost nothing, but
Right. Alright. I think it's time once again for that segment. The Goosh's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler
Oh.
that goes up and down the roads, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Let me think. So outside of almost dying multiple times from wrong way drivers,
Damn.
I think one of my favorite travels, like I'd say travel stories, would have to be when I was with Lycan, and we were with another one of our buddies, and I can't fall asleep on road trips. I get really bad anxiety in cars. But this time I felt, okay, I'm pretty comfortable with, falling asleep back here. We're on our way to El Paso, Texas for Pro Wrestling Legacy. And I overhear them saying something like, hey, do you want to switch right now? And Steve says, well, we're already kind of running late. And the other person there says, hey, we could just switch right now. And I'm like confused as to what they mean by that. So then I look up, and then I see they put the car in auto drive or autopilot, and they're switching seats while we're bombing 80 going to El Paso.
Oh my god.
So yeah, that's a cool one. Other than that, a lot of calm time. It's mostly calm, mostly chill. A story with King Khan and Taylor Kingsley and Ozzy Gates. It was on our way back from Las Vegas. We thought it was only going to take another 4 hours. 4 hours there, 4 hours back. That's the appeal to Vegas when you travel. But it wasn't going to be as easy because we realized, hey, this road that we always take, it's closed. It's done. So we got to cut through California, and we got to go through Arizona, through the other side of the border, and then we get to my house. So that was an extra hour and a half on top. But Khan took it upon himself to drive the entire way, which we appreciated very much. But then we realized not a single one of us had a charger, and not a single one of our phones were charging. So we didn't know why. So we're taking a new route, and we don't know how to get to Arizona from California, cutting through Las Vegas. So there's a brief moment where we're all terrified that we won't know where we're going because our phones are going to die, and there's no near gas station, and we don't know how to get to one. And it's already 4 a.m. at this point, but Khan got us there. Khan got us all home safe, and we were able to charge our phones. But other than that, I wouldn't say I had crazy road stories other than those times. I hope to get on the road more, but yeah, that's about it.
Definitely. Still pretty unique and bizarre, to say the least.
It was terrifying.
I was gonna say, do you get backwards drivers often?
You said what?
Do you get people that are driving on the wrong side of the road often?
For Las Vegas, yes, because there's a road where it's just both one way, and one lane going forward, one lane going the other way. And a lot of people they'll cut around big semis, so they're gonna try to zoom past the semi, and they won't see us on the they won't see us on the road, and they'll just have to squeeze in between us and the semi, going bombing around 80 miles an hour, and that's pretty terrifying every time.
Yeah, I could definitely imagine. Alright. Besides pro wrestling, you are also very inclined with music as well. Can you tell us about that?
So I only started music up in 5th grade because I wanted to play. So we had an open house for my elementary school when I first moved here to Arizona in 2013. And we did an open house, and I wanted to do band. And I picked up the trumpet, and I saw the piano there. I didn't know how to play the piano. So in the band room, I'd ask the teacher all the time, hey, can I play piano? Can I play the piano? And I didn't actually know how to play it. I just wanted to mess around on it. So I did the trumpet to learn how to read music. And in 6th grade, she let me do percussion and go on the xylophone so I could learn those notes. And it wasn't until that year where I finally got my own keyboard so I could play my own piano. It's all just because I really wanted to touch the piano in the class, but I never did. But I still had my own, which is okay. And from then on, I just kept joining band and 7th grade, I picked up the bass, then the guitar, and then like just more percussion, like the drums and all that. And from then on through high school, I just kept learning more and more music, but primarily piano.
What's your favorite song to play on the piano?
I don't know, actually. I'd say Benny and the Jets by Elton John. That's one of my favorites to play. Definitely.
What?
And it's Go ahead.
No, what was you gonna say?
I was gonna say it's for me personally, when it comes to wrestling, I think wrestling is like music. Everything that's like stands out most about wrestling is like music, from video packages to like, you know, the presentation of like how people come out, and that's where I'm like, oh man, this is where I feel like most of my like, I try to like mesh both worlds together, and that's why with a lot of my promos or like video packages, I'll use like certain like licensed music. You know what I mean? Because like these are songs that I like, and these are songs that I feel fit a certain setting.
Right.
So it's just being able to use like a certain type of creativity to be able to like apply music to wrestling. But obviously I haven't been able to use my personal skills in the ring yet when it comes to music, but we'll see if I'll get that chance.
Was there any song that was quite challenging for you to learn, or a song that you still are trying to learn that was hard for you to learn?
I'd have to say Hall of the Mount. I think it's like Hall of the Mountain King. Hall of the Mountain King by I forgot his name, but yeah, it's the one like do 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 do. That one.
Yes.
It just keeps going and going and going. That's the hardest one for me to learn right now.
So you're getting into the classical stuff as well.
Yeah, I like it most of the time. Fur Elise is one of the first like classical songs that I knew. What's the other one? Claire de Lune. That's one of my favorites. Honestly, I could just look at my Spotify playlist right now and I'll have to start naming them off. But I don't think wrestling like is applicable for certain like classical musics. You know what I mean? I think Gunther is like one of the very few people where I've seen like classical music being able to work when it comes to wrestling. For me, I'm like more like I like very licensed songs that you can't use in big companies. So I got to think about one day trying to make my own.
I gotcha. All right. Are you an avid anime fan as well?
Not as much anymore. When I was in high school or like middle school, I would watch like anime frequently. I think like, you know, my all-time favorite is Soul Eater. Like to give you like an idea, I just started Naruto. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like I haven't touched on the big ones, but like smaller ones that I've been able to watch.
Well, just out of curiosity, have you also read the Soul Eater manga?
I haven't yet. No, I just barely started a collection as of last year, and I'm not going to start reading them until I get all of them.
I get that. But I ask because the ending of the anime compared to the manga was significantly different.
Yeah, I know about that, and I just wanted to see how, when I finally do read it, I want to see how they actually get to that point and like how it really differs, because I know, I don't know how I could spoil, but like because I haven't read it myself, but like I know like how it's insanely different. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's going to be very, very interesting to read.
The weird thing is, people don't like the ending of Soul Eater, but I thought it was actually pretty good. Like, I was satisfied with the ending that I got. But I could also understand where, you know, it wasn't the ending, so, you know, people wanted that as well.
I get that, and my friends they'll tell me the same thing. They'll say, "Oh, the manga's ending was always better, anyways." I'm like, "Yeah, but like I watched the anime first, so this is the best ending that I know."
Right. So.
But I always liked it.
Oh, continue. Oh. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. I cut you
Yeah,
off.
yeah. Oh, no worries. I just said I always liked it. I always liked the Soul Eater anime, especially the art style.
Have you watched Fire Force?
I have not and the reason why I haven't is because of my love for Soul Eater, and it's in the same universe or it's the same creators, but it's just like no, I'm not going to do it. I'm out of spite.
It's same art style. I don't think it's the same world, but
I think my brother told me that one time, and I was kind of like took it at face value, but it's more like no. If you guys can make this show, you could have made another Soul Eater.
But they actually did make another Soul Eater. Soul Eater.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't really like it that much.
I did not like that one either.
I didn't think it was good at all. The art style was completely different, and it was just like, these aren't really people I care about.
Compared to the original series, it was definitely disappointing, to say the least.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I do have to ask, Dark Star, you like him or dislike him?
Black Star is. I hated him a lot as a kid. Then I'm like, dang, this guy's literally Naruto, and these guys are like just loudmouth, just very arrogant, just super flagrant and vocal people. Like always, sometimes the best like protagonists when it comes to wrestling. Even though he's gotten his ass whooped multiple times, and I feel like that's better for storytelling.
So you've come to learn to appreciate Dark Star.
I've appreciated him a lot more than when I was a kid because I just felt he was very boisterous, very annoying. But I think it's what made him entertaining more than anything.
I agree. And just his relationship with Tsubaki, him being so loud and her being so reserved, they complemented each other.
Absolutely. I think that's always I think that dynamic in a lot of entertainment is always the most important because I feel like it's almost comforting when you're able to see it play out and how somebody Black Star has someone to be comforted by Tsubaki, and it's okay when their synergy is very, very good together, so you want to be able to root for them as a collective instead of just one individual.
Right.
But it's just very comforting. I just think it's comfortable.
All right. That will bring us to the colossal question. Let's say that they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
First 3 songs?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I hope you're able to edit out this dead time of me thinking.
Need time to pull out that good Spotify?
Yeah. I'm not going to give a lot of reason as to why, but I just feel like there's a lot of sounds in certain songs that I think I connect with. Let's go. Shoot. Dang. Let's go through the Grapevine by Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
The Payback by James Brown. Oh man, the last one. Let's go by A Seagull in Clouds by Hamiko Kikuchi off the Flying Beagle album. It's nothing in particular. I just really like that song. But I think I feel like there'll be enough creative minds to be able to find a way to put it in the soundtrack.
and a solid 3 picks to say the least.
Absolutely.
Now that we have the soundtrack down, everybody knows you get the soundtrack first, then you write the script, and then you go to casting. Who plays yourself? And you can't say yourself because you are obligated to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo.
I get to make a cameo.
Yes.
Let's go with Robert Downey Jr. Let's go with Robert Downey Jr.
Hell yeah. Now that we have you casted, every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be 3 people significant to you and your story that would be in your movie, and who would play them?
It'd have to go my friend Nathan, my mom, and my girlfriend. My friend Nathan, I think, would be played by Adam Driver.
Okay.
My mom, she could be played by Winona Ryder. That'd be a good one.
Okay.
And my girlfriend, she gets to play herself.
So you're going with the safe option.
I'm going with the save option. She gets to play herself.
Alright. This is sounding like a great movie. A blockbuster to say the least. And you could pre-order the tickets now.
Now?
Right now.
There hasn't been a trailer out yet.
You could still sell the tickets.
I don't know if I'm gonna do that. I'll just see how it looks first. I'll get it when they're ready for the public.
On to a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
I love it. I love it. It's my favorite topping on pizza. No joke.
Okay.
Where do you stand on it?
Where do I stand?
Yep.
I am more on the neutral side because I've never actually had it.
Try it. Try it. You gotta try it.
Well, the thing is, my mom is allergic to pineapple.
So
okay. It was never pineapple in general was just not something that's around me. So it's just a fruit I generally stay away from in the first place. But I do think eventually I do have to try it at some point and, pick my side. But I'm Sweden at the point.
When I worked at Papa John's, my favorite pizza to make was always for my own personal pizza. It was stuffed crust, garlic parm crust, right?
Mm-hmm.
You put jalapenos, pepperoni, and pineapple, and it's so acidic and also very savory at the same time. And I always love that flavor. And pineapple pizza is probably one of my favorite toppings.
All right, so very pro pineapple on pizza.
Absolutely, I'm an advocate.
What's your spirit Pokemon?
You want to know something? I never got into Pokemon. But what's the Pokemon's name? My friends, when they would they would try to tell me about Pokemon, they would tell me that I remind them of Scraggy. So I think I'm just gonna have to go with that because that's the only Pokemon that I know that's not the main ones.
Okay, I gotcha.
I really want to get into Pokemon. I just don't have any Nintendo products. I never got into Nintendo like that, and I'm kind of sad that I didn't because Pokemon looks really cool to get into. I'm really into video game communities, but I'm not in the main ones.
The weird thing is, Pokemon has always been the anime for me, not necessarily the games. Like legit, that was one of the first animes I watched was Pokemon. So yeah, Pokemon was an anime to me.
For me, it was my first ever anime that I got into was Soul Eater and Sword Art Online, and at the time Beyblade, because it was on Cartoon Network, and I was like, I'm like, wow, this is what anime is. This is okay. It made me buy Beyblades, but it did its job by marketing the toy.
I was gonna say the show did its job.
Yeah.
Never. I've seen Sword Art Online. Not necessarily a fan of Sword Art Online.
I was a fan of it as a kid when I was 10 because it was my first one, and then I realized growing up, like, yeah, this is kind of in theory and in the grand scheme of things, it's not a very good show to get behind. It's just like, I'm not gonna say too cliche, but it's almost like I feel like there's a lot missing and a lot of context missing in that show. But I feel like in the same sense, that's almost the same way like isekais work. You know what I mean?
I mean, true. I do feel like there are just better, quality
Absolutely.
animes out there than Sword Art Online.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's just
I didn't realize until I started watching more anime.
right. I get that people like it, but I just don't understand how it became so popular when it's not as good as it necessarily could have been, if that makes sense.
Yeah, once they started getting to the Gun Gale Online, because like this is like when before the second part of it came out. Once they started getting into Gun Gale Online, I kind of like got checked out. I'm like, yeah, I'm out of here. This isn't what I know. And then I just started moving on to different animes by that point.
Right.
But it was cool. It was cool as hell for me at the time.
Now, we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for Doug? THUG.
I do not.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail. 'Cause a Doug can't spell. Yes, we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show, trying to keep the memory alive. Weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully. Would you ever consider wrestling a rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical rock.
I feel like if you have a good enough ability to wrestle a rock, you may be considered one of the best wrestlers in the world. So I will definitely take that challenge on if I can get that accolade of being the best wrestler in the world.
Well, that accolade as of right now goes to a wrestler called Psycho Mike, that indeed wrestled a rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I gotta see that match.
When
we're done with this, can you like DM me that match so I'll go watch it?
Yes, I will send it to you.
Thank you.
On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Signed. In a position where the wrestling business is able to provide for me for the rest of my life. That's always the goal. You know what I mean?
Right. Any particular company?
Nowhere in particular, but the place everybody should want to be is the WWE, because that is where the most money is going to be made. That is going to give you the biggest platform, and it's a monopoly. Of course, that's not by literal definition, but it's like it's where the most money is going to be made. It's going to be seen in the public eye more than any company. So I think that's the place where I'd want to be.
All right. And what is a match you would recommend that best shows off what you are all about as a pro wrestler?
That's a tough one. If I could be very transparent, my character isn't influenced from anyone really too much in wrestling. But in terms of what I love most about it, I have to go to anything from Nigel McGuinness and Danielson in ROH, just anything from that, any of those matches, just any of them.
What is a match from that you've had, your match, that best shows off what you are all about?
I'd say my match with Chris Evans in December of 2024, or my dog collar match.
Okay, and can we find these on YouTube?
The dog collar match, I don't think so, but I know my match with Chris Evans will be on there. He always posts his match on his YouTube.
Alright. And if it is indeed on YouTube, I will grab the link to that match and put a link to it in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox for anybody that hasn't seen it, wants to see it, wants to re-see it after this interview. And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom. This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Oh, jeez. Give me a second. Okay. Ready.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
CM Punk.
Worst wrestler.
Disco Inferno.
I will accept that answer. You are main eventing you're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
CM Punk.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Ric Flair.
Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is
Around.
We would have also accepted tastes great on toast. Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Fruit.
Yes, it is indeed a fruit. New Japan wrestler Tai Chi. His ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
I think it could be endless. Show as much as you want. Show as little as you want.
So, to each their own.
Absolutely.
Alright. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
Yes, I have. Yes. That is very odd. That is a very specific question.
Alright, well, could you elaborate on this conversation that you had about Darby Allin?
So I worked at a grocery store.
Okay.
And I saw somebody with a wrestling shirt. It was an Adam Cole one at the time, I believe, from when he was in the Undisputed Era. And I'm like, oh, you like wrestling? And then we talked a little bit. And it turns out his name is Aaron Creed, and he is a wrestler himself. He's actually a wrestler. And he informed me about the AWF. And we talked a little bit about wrestling. And of course, Darby Allin got brought up. I really liked him at the time, but I don't think he liked him too much. But yeah, it happened to be in a grocery store, and we did talk about Darby Allin. And at the time, he was a stranger. So I hope that meets the criteria.
And that is the correct answer.
That's the correct answer to this?
Yes. And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Absolutely. It was fun. It was very fun.
And once again, where can we find you on social media and your merchandise?
My primary social media is Goosh_PW on Instagram. All my merchandise is going to be in the link in my bio. I am also Goosh on Facebook and nowhere else. So Facebook and Instagram. I fell into the metaverse.
Perfect. And you don't have to type it into your Google machine. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. Simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Give him a damn follow and buy a damn short.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Gotta sell that merch. Of
Thank you
course,
very much for having me, dude. Thank you very much for having me. It was fun.
absolutely. Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment. But on YouTube and Castbox, this was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews, and follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on X, Thread, and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, when I say wrestling what, you say entertainment, okay?
Mm-hmm.
For our very special guest, the Goose, Kaliko Yachts, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment.
Hey, folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show. Support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.